everybody. My name is Cody, and I'm excited today to tell you a little bit about my PhD study, Math That Matters for Teaching. So I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit. I'm a high school math teacher. I've been teaching for 13 years. For the past 9 years, I've taught at the York School, where I mostly teach grade 11 and 12 math. And as a teacher, I've always participated in a lot of PD. I'm really driven by wanting my students to enjoy math class as much as I enjoyed math class. So I'm always trying to become a better teacher. This led me to develop an interest in teacher education, and that led me to pursue a PhD at OISE, where I'm currently in my 5th year under the supervision of Dr. Doug McDougall. So my PhD research is about generalizing, and I define generalizing to have 2 parts. The first part is forming a common property among a set of objects, and then the second part is extending it to a larger set. And I view generalizing as playing a central role in mathematics. I think it's how mathematicians develop new knowledge, and it also plays an important role in curriculum documents. It's part of the standards for mathematical practice, and it's also part of the reasoning improving standard in the Ontario math curriculum. And yet, in spite of this, research has shown that a lot of students have difficulty generalizing. They can find it hard to spot a common property among a set of objects, and they can also have difficulty using general language to extend that common property to new contexts. And so there's been a lot of research that's looked at how we can support students to generalize more productively. And we can think of this research kind of in 2 different areas. So the first area of research looks at different task features that support students to generalize. So we can be really thoughtful about the examples that we use, almost like specifically design them to get students to notice things. And then there's also been some research on how what productive generalizing activity looks like. And what Ellis and her colleagues found is that productive generalizing occurs through iterative cycles of forming and extending. So it's not like mathematicians just notice the right common property right away and immediately generalize. It's they notice something and then they try to generalize it, and they go through these cycles of forming and extending. And through each of these cycles, they develop more and more sophisticated generalizations. And so I theorize that what teachers need to know in order to be able to get their students to generalize is they need to have a knowledge of the relationship between the task that they use and the kind of generalizing activity that that task might provoke in their students. And so, yeah, like I said, the idea is that the task determines the kind of generalizing activity that students engage in. So teachers need to understand how can particular examples help students to notice particular things, and how can they be really clever about how they prompt students to extend to get them to actually extend to the desired generalization. And so the research question of my study was, how can we develop this kind of knowledge in secondary math teachers? And so to answer that question, I used design research. So I proposed an instructional theory for how teachers might develop this kind of knowledge, and then I designed a PD to test how well it works. My instructional theory is based on some work from Nick Wasserman and his colleagues about connecting advanced math knowledge to secondary math teaching. And it has 2 phases. So first, I propose that teachers need to develop the knowledge of generalizing by engaging in mathematics themselves as learners. And then they take this knowledge and transform it to the work of teaching. So that led me to design a 3-day PD workshop for teachers called Math That Matters for Teaching. The workshop had mathematical activities and pedagogical activities. The math activities were 3 problem sets, and we were looking at recursive, 2-term recursive sequences. And the idea was that they would learn about that by engaging in generalizing. And then I also provided opportunities for them to reflect on their generalizing activity. So they had to look where am I forming, where am I extending? And then in the pedagogical activities, those looked at analyzing and designing generalizing tasks. And again, it was using those same ideas of forming and extending. They were looking at where might a task encourage students to form, and where might it encourage them to extend generalizations. And my workshop had 4 participants, but for my presentation today, I'll focus on one who I've given the pseudonym Eliza. And so taking a look at what Eliza learned in the mathematical activities, I looked at her responses to all of the problems that she worked on, as well as her written reflections to the responses. And what I found is that she engaged in iterative cycles of forming and extending. She produced 2 generalizations, the first being that some starting points produce geometric sequences, and the second being that some sequences are made out of other sequences. And she was able to identify instances where she engaged in generalizing. So just to show a little bit of her work, one of the problems was looking at that recursive rule. So what that means is that each term in the sequence is 7 times the one before it minus 10 times the one before that. And what they had to do was they started the sequence with different starting pairs, and then they looked at all of the different sequences that they got. And what Eliza noticed was that if you take the numbers when you start with F and you subtract the numbers that you start with G, you get the sequence for the numbers when you start with H. And she extended that to form a recursive rule for the sequence. Another one of the tasks asked participants to solve that equation. So that defined A and B so that A times the 0.15 plus B times the 0.12 gets you 0.3. And she solved that task, and that led her to engage in another cycle of forming and extending. She noticed that those values of A and B were how she combined the sequence on the previous slide. And then she extended that again. One of the last problems looked at the Fibonacci sequence. And so in her other generalizations, she found out how to find the starting points for the Fibonacci sequence that would give a geometric sequence. And then she used that A and B equation to figure out how she could combine those 2 starting points to get the starting point for the Fibonacci sequence. So through her cycles of forming and extending, she was able to come up with an explicit rule for the Fibonacci sequence. And she was also able, like I said, to identify instances where she engaged in forming and extending. So this was one of her reflections. She said, for a given sequence, the starting pairs that result in a geometric sequence can be combined to determine the explicit rules for different starting pairs in the sequence. I initially noticed this in question 4, and I continued to use it in question 5. So there I see her identifying, here's where I formed my initial pattern, and here's where I extended it. Looking at her learning in the pedagogical activities, to analyze this, I conducted an interview with her after the PD to learn more about her experiences in the PD. And I also analyzed her written responses to the pedagogical activities. And across those, her learning suggests that she did develop knowledge of generalizing for teaching. She demonstrated an understanding of the relationships between tasks and activity. And she also redesigned a task in a way that she thought would engage her students in more productive generalizing activity. So in the interview, one of the main themes was that she wanted to use forming and extending as a way to think about how she selects and revises tasks for her instruction. She talked about looking for gaps in the generalizing process and thinking about how she could fill them in. Some of the ways she talked about filling them in was by, again, thinking about the particular examples that she was choosing and how those support learners to develop initial generalizations. And then she also thought about really being intentional about the final generalization that she's selecting and how is she getting learners to get there. And these to me suggest an awareness of the relationship between tasks and generalizing activity. We did a lot of analyzing tasks in the PD. This task here, they analyzed both before we did the PD and after the PD, and that let me compare like what changed, which I took as kind of evidence of what she learned in the PD. And so in the task, they have to evaluate a whole bunch of different logarithms, and they'll notice that some of them are equal. And then from that, they're supposed to generalize one of the log laws. And teachers were asked to reflect on the pedagogical quality of this task and what its effective features were and how they would use it. And then I just compared their pre and post responses. So I will just really quickly show you. So her Pre-PD response, she thought it was an effective task, didn't really think about how she would change the task. And then in her post-PD response, she proposed a revised task where she just wanted to have students make a table of values for the log function and then use this to spot the pattern so that they themselves could see that log 2 plus log 3 is log 6 and look for others examples of that and then extend that to develop the generalization themselves. And again, I thought this really demonstrated like she was really thinking about the relationship between tasks and activity. And so in summary, like her findings to me suggest that she did develop knowledge of generalizing for teaching. I'm currently analyzing the data from other participants in the study, and I'm interested to see like how their learning suggests refinements to the instructional theory. And in the future, I'd like to do the PD again and then follow teachers into the classroom to really get a sense of how they're using this knowledge in their teaching and to also help me think about like different aspects of knowledge of generalizing for teaching that teachers might need to know. So thank you very much for listening.